Hello everyone, welcome back to our club by club draft analysis. In this video we're going to be looking through the Adelaide Crows, their draft picks they have and who we think they should take a look at in this upcoming AFL Draft. The Adelaide Crows currently, before the draft, sit with picks 4 and 64. Now I'll pass to you, Dylan, and we'll start the discussion of pick 4. We'll actually start with their list needs. What do the Adelaide Crows need to look at in this off-season, and who should they be looking towards in the draft, and more specifically their pick 4?
I think there's two sort of key areas that they need to address. Given the fact that they hold pick 4, which is a really high-end one, I assume they're going to take a midfielder with that pick, which is one of their key areas. I mean, their midfield's a really interesting conversation because I'll kind of start here. They've got a really dominant tap ruckman. In Riley O'Brien, someone that has kind of forced them, I believe, into this really high stoppage game just to progress them up the field, even though their midfield is a little bit one-paced and a little bit slow and that sort of thing. He kind of holds the cards and kind of creates that dynamic for their midfield. So I think the problem with Riley O'Brien is that you get almost zilch on transition. So if the ball's flicking between the arcs, you're pretty much a player down. But he does help you in that stoppage. So he forces them into that game style. As far as the midfielders that are there, I think they have plenty of guys that can get their hands on the ball, Rory Laird, Matty Crouch types, but there's obviously not a lot of bite, not a lot of speed.
No.
Some of that will come down to the emergence perhaps of Josh Rochelle. If he can turn his form around, he is that guy with a bit of game-breaking ability. So the first one that I bring up here for that need, for that pace, lateral movement, explosiveness out of stoppage is probably Sid Draper. Who we've talked a lot about those factors in his game. Obviously, being South Australian, that sounds like an obvious choice, but I think he does fit a need. Would you agree, Jonty?
Yeah, I would. I think the speed through the midfield is specifically what I'd be looking for, and there's a lot of that at the top end of this draft. It's obviously a midfield-heavy draft, but I think the one thing that this midfield heavy draft really has is speed among those top players. In particular, Sid Draper obviously does possess that. His athletic profile is quite strong. I think from an Adelaide perspective, what they need to do is probably get a little bit more traditional at the top end. I looked through a few of their past top 10 picks. You talked about Josh Rochelle possibly having that great game-breaking ability. I think we would have seen it a little bit more by now if he was going to develop into that player.
It's a concern.
Yeah, it's a concern that we haven't seen it yet. They've also got Riley Thilthorpe, who's going to be a nice player, and same with Chase Jones, perhaps, but are they the players that are going to really be able to build your teams around? Probably not.
I'd probably chance. So on that, Chase Jones, I reckon he's a bit of a write-off.
Yeah.
I'd say Thilthorpe still could be...
Yeah, wait and see.
Game-breaking. He could be anything as a key forward,
Yeah, he's probably heavier as a key forward. Is he, in terms of the athletic profile, he's sort of really physical, old style. That's sort of what I question, but that's a different discussion. So I think they need someone they can really build their team around. Sid Draper is the obvious one, being South Australian. I think we'd all agree that would be perfect for them, keeping the homegrown talent on home soil. Obviously, there was the rumour in the middle of the year that turned out to be nothing. I think that Sid Draper didn't want to go there, but he'd be the obvious choice. If it wasn't someone like him, then I'd lean towards a big-bodied midfielder, and the best big-bodied midfielder out of Harvey Langford, Sam Lawler and Josh Smiley that's still available that you believe is going to really serve your team the best. So one of those three would be the one for me. I guess Harvey Langford probably doesn't have the speed, so I was going to probably prefer one of the other two.
I think the best of both worlds there would be Lawler.
Yeah.
And then he also gives you that pseudo tall in the forward half of the ground if you want it as well. But I don't think Sam Lawler will be available with that pick 4.
Yeah.
I would have thought, as opposed to going down the big body route, given that they do have Dawson in there, who sort of fills that role when he's playing more as a genuine mid, I thought they might go for... The other one would be Finn O'Sullivan. If he slipped. I guess that's looking more and more unlikely with Carlton moving up to pick 3, and he still might go with Richmond, but I think he's another one with that, lateral sort of explosiveness as well, with the speed, forward half player. Someone that they need.
Nathan, where would you put Murphy Reid in this discussion? Because he's another one that probably has that silkiness and is in that discussion of being in that middle end of the top bracket.
Look, whoever they do take, and Murphy Reid's one, I think you have to make them a bit more creative two ways. That's the issue with Adelaide. They're all for offensive running and killing you in transition, but who are those midfielders that are going to work back for you, sit a little deeper and play a little more defensively? Murphy Reid's one that's smart enough to do that type of role, and when they're able to kill on the turnover, he's quick, he's swift, he's able to go down both ends. If you go back to that big body discussion, I actually wouldn't mind Harvey Langford for that sense. He's probably one of the best two ways in terms of endurance. He's always there and reliable.
I think his defensive stuff is an area of improvement.
I just think he's able to work back enough where you can at least rely he'll be there as an asset, and that's something he can build on enough.
In all honesty, when I assess the top end of the draft, those midfielders, I probably think they all lack a little bit defensively because they're playing. They're the ball carriers of their team. They're the best players in their team, so it's hard to judge any of them. I probably look at someone that I put above anyone in that top group is probably Sam Lawler. From a tackling point of view. And the only other thing I was going to say there on Murphy Reed, just the fact that they took Josh Rosselli a couple of years ago. Do you think there's too much of a similarity?
Both very small players, aren't they?
Yeah, probably similar draft profile in their years.
Yeah.
It'd be unlikely. I don't think they take Murphy Reed that high, to be completely honest. Let's go around. If you're Adelaide, you've got pick 4. Who are you taking? I'll start. I'm taking Sid Draper.
If available, Sid Draper. Otherwise, Sam Lawler.
Sid Draper, Finn O'Sullivan.
We'll move now to their pick 64, which, I mean, it's interesting what they do. They might want to move around on draft night, but we're going to assume they're going to look for Tyler Welsh in that back end. He's probably one that's going to go after pick 50. It's interesting, and Dill, you're more around how the picks and the points work. If Tyler Welsh was to be, bidded on by a club at 55, do Adelaide have the assets to go up and get him? Like, how does that work? How do you think that will work on the night, or any gentleman's type of agreement that just let him slide to pick 64?
So they've currently got picks 4 and 64, so they haven't got a huge amount of points arsenal there to work with. What they might be able to do is just like flick things around on draft night if a team is sitting there. I think they'll kind of play it by ear depending on the interest in Welsh. I don't think we probably see a lot of interest in Welsh before pick 50. Would you guys agree?
And I'd agree. I think the only thing I'd say is he is a momentum shifter in a game. So a team might look at him and say, let's make Adelaide accountable. And if we get this player, he's someone that could make a real impact in the forward half for our football club because he has got that power one-on-one. And you talked about their need in the front half. So he's going to serve that for Adelaide as he could for another club.
Yeah. And given the fact that he's a father-son, he does come with that 20% discount. So say it's around the 50 mark, they should be able to cover that around about with the pick 64 that they hold as well.
If there was anyone else, let's in the hypothetical they decide we don't want Welsh, John Tiano, you had a few kind of options. Who would you take?
The only thing I'd say is I'd take another midfielder later in the draft. It's obviously hard to project who's going to be available for them, but a midfielder that they think has a point of difference, maybe someone like a Damon Hollow if he's still on the board. Yeah,
it might be a little bit with those types of mids. It might be a little bit same.
I think he's got a bit of speed.
He's got a bit of speed.
That's where I'm coming from. And
I love Damon Hollow. I think he's really good. But you just imagine that they'll commit to Welsh, who's probably in that mix. Like, is he a need? Not really. But you just take him with his competitiveness and what he can do.
Yep.
Well, to finish up, if they finish the draft with Sid Draper and Tyler Welsh, would you call that a pass?
I think they would be really happy with the Draper aspect of that for the here and now.
Yeah, I'd say flyingly.
I'd agree. I think they'd be pretty happy. That's all. Check out Dylan's channel and our channel for the other 17 clubs we will be previewing as part of our draft analysis. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in another video.